Good morning, everybody. I want to talk a little bit about the changes that have taken place in our world and in our lives in the last 20 years. Technology has swept us into a new dynamic that is hard to keep up with. They say knowledge at one point doubled every 100 years, and then every 50 years, and every 25 years. Now it's like every 18 months we know twice as much as we did the 18 months before. And one of the big changes for me in this ministry has been funerals. When I first came here, I was ordained in 1989, and when I first came here, the AIDS epidemic was just beginning to show itself. And many of the young people in this church that had AIDS knew that they were going to be making their transition sometime soon, so they got to plan their own funerals. And it went from the old-type funeral, singing Rock of Ages with our heads bowed, crying and praying for our loved one to get into heaven, to this incredible turnaround of being a celebration for life. And because the person that was going to make his transition in the near future knew that, he was actually able to produce his own celebration of life. And so all of a sudden we began to have slideshows, and we began to have Broadway music, and we began to have confetti, and we began to have balloons. And it wasn't a time where we did acknowledge our grief because we did that, but with the celebration of life, we truly focused on that person's life and all the wonderful, beautiful things that they shared with us, and the memories. This week we got a call on, within a 24-hour period, of 3 people that had died, all longtime members of the church, all in their 80s. Bill Cunningham was from the northeast neighborhood back there, and his seat is empty, but he would be there every Sunday when he could. Ed Dinwiddie goes back 40 years, and he was in this Middle West section. His wife was manager of the bookstore, and he died rather unexpectedly. And then not Eleanor Garvey, but Avery, from Michael Avery's hair salon. She made her transition, and over the past few years, she had been sitting in her living room listening to CDs of the service every Sunday at exactly 10:30. So it is very sad to see these people leave. They are definitely had a huge impact on our lives, but with each of them, even though they're of the older generation, they all wanted a celebration of life. They didn't want to focus on the doom and the gloom and the possibility of going to hell when their time came. They wanted people to remember them and cherish them. And Ed Dinwiddie's service is tomorrow at 3 o'clock, and Eleanor Avery is today at 2:30. But anyway, I just say that because as we grow and we evolve spiritually, we move into a realm where we have a much wider span of choices to make. And that's what I'm going to talk about this morning. I'm going to talk about the power that we have, probably the greatest power we have, which is the power to choose. We have the power to make choices in regards to how we act, react, think, and feel to a wide variety of different situations and circumstances in our lives. Every choice we make has an effect. That is to say, it results in something, whether that be good, bad, positive, negative, delightful, or detrimental. It doesn't make any difference, but when we make a choice, that choice just isn't finalized in that moment. It stretches out and creates effects or results in our lives. Now, the greatest power we have is the power to choose, and the greatest asset we have in making good choices is the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect quite simply says that if we make a specific choice, it's going to end in a specific result. If we make that same specific choice again, it's going to end in the same specific result again. Now, the reason that's important is because we can see when we make a choice that doesn't have a good positive outcome for us, we can realize that, so we don't make the same wrong choice twice. Now, as an example, every year my cousin Ozzie and Lars Iverson go to the northern lakes of Canada moose hunting. And each year they hire a pontoon plane. The pontoon plane takes them in, lands them on a lake, drops them off, and picks them up in 7 days. Well, after 7 days passed, the pilot comes back to get them, and he is surprised to see that Ozzy and Lars have bagged 6 huge moose. Unfortunately, the pilot said we only can take 4 back. That's all the plane can handle. Ozzy and Lars objected strenuously. They said, no way. Last year, the pilot, with his exact same kind of plane, allowed us to take 6 moose onto the plane. The pilot says the plane can't handle it. Ozzy and Lars says we did it last year. Finally, the pilot relents. They get the 6 moose on the plane. They take off. The poor little plane is struggling to get up. It's struggling to get up. It's struggling to get up. And it just can't make it. It crashes into the side of the beach. Now, fortunately, nobody was hurt other than bangs up and bruises. And as they're climbing out of the plane, Lars Iverson asked my cousin Ozzy, do you have any idea where we're at? And cousin Ozzy says, I know exactly where we're at. We're at the same place we crashed last year. So, the first point of the lesson today is don't make the same wrong choice twice. And we can learn that. A cat doesn't even jump on a hot stove twice, so we should be able to learn just as well. The second thing is, as we go through our lives, we have lots and lots of choices to make. We have situations, circumstances, relationships, and almost every one of them calls for us to choose. Some are small, insignificant choices that don't make any difference. Go there, do this, get that, watch this channel. They're choices that don't have a long-term effect. But there are also choices we make that have a tremendous effect in our lives. Sometimes they're life-changing choices that are going to change the entire course of our lives. So how do we know what the right choice is when we're faced with one of those monumental decisions where we have to decide to go left, go right, straight ahead, or just stand still? How do we know how to make the right choice? Well, the best form that we can do this in is to have some sort of a guiding principle. And a guiding principle is, what do you desire most in your life? What do you want to be the overarching feeling in your life? How do you want to feel most of the time? The experts in human relations tell us that the greatest desire each and every one of us has is to be at peace. We want peace of mind first and foremost. We can handle almost any situation or circumstance if we can remain at peace as we go through it. So if we set peace of mind as our guiding principle, that means that every situation or circumstance that we go into where we have to make a choice, peace of mind has to be the cornerstone that is going to guide us. What decision can I make that will bring me back to a point of peace as quickly as possible? What decision can I make or choice can I make that is going to restore my peace, or that's going to allow me to develop a sense of peace that I've never had before in situations like this?